Welcome to the only place where real, raw, and vulnerable conversations happen with IFBB Bikini Pros to give you an inside look at their struggles, strategies, mindset, passions, and all of life beyond the stage. This podcast is made to inspire, motivate, and remind competitors and the average gym goer that even the most extreme lifestyles and elite athletes have their ups and downs. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm your host, Celeste Rains-Turk, and now it's time for the Confessions of a Bikini Pro podcast. Today's guest has done over 50 competitions and went pro in July of 2015 at the Masters Nationals, then went on to place 5th at the Arkansas Pro, first at the Hurricane Pro and Masters over 40, third place at the Masters Pro Bikini 45 level, fourth in Masters World over 50 in 2022, and has earned 17 more medals since then. And despite not always walking away with hardware, she says she has always walked away a winner and a lover of the sport for the people, experiences, and federation. Plus, this author of Fit and Healthy Her started after feeling like God gave her a second chance at life and a calling to pay it forward. She felt whole and limitless when she found fitness after suffering with Graves' disease and after quitting smoking. She had previously been doing a pack a day at age 32. Saw her body go haywire after her last daughter was born, and instead of making excuses, she found a way and achieved greatness as a competitor, as well as a coach who is equipped with her personal training, strength, and nutrition coach certifications, as well as a certificate from the Clean Health Fitness Institute. Also, she can help women achieve more than they let themselves believe, restore their bodies, and feel and look even better than they knew they could be. Welcome to the podcast, Pamela John. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm great. I hope I can live up to that wonderful intro. Oh, my word, Celeste. That was amazing. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. That was so fun for me to write. The intros get me pumped to do these episodes, I'm telling you.
Oh, gosh. I mean, seriously, I really hope I can live up to that. That was so much.
Oh, well, that's you. That's you. You've
Oh,
accomplished that. You are living that. So I'm excited to have you here. And I know that you've been a fan of the show, but more than that, just learning about you, I'm excited to bring that to our audience. So I have to ask you, and I'm going to ask you this. Is there anything you do or think about, or maybe a ritual you have right before your heel hits the stage?
you know what? Typically, I'm just filled with gratitude. Yeah, the nerves definitely hit. I mean, do
Mhm.
not get me, started on that. I'm definitely not a showgirl, as it were. I'm more of a technician.
Mm.
But I just am filled with gratitude and disbelief almost that I'm among all these beautiful ladies doing this really fun and exciting thing. And that God has granted me the gift of an able body and restored my health. So,
That's so beautiful. Getting to that point where you feel the restoration, though, I
yeah.
imagine that probably really highlights how far away you were from restoration in the past. So
Oh,
I'm curious, what the difference is between you now versus the version of you that was having autoimmune flare-ups and thyroid issues and smoking. What is it that's changed that you've now noticed because of your commitment to this?
it's been a 180. It really has. So, if you rewind my life back to like even my teens, I was a smoker. So I started smoking in high school, um, and never put the pack down. So I
Wow.
smoked all through, yeah, girl, smoked all through high school, college. I did a fair bit of partying in high school. And in college, I was like, I'm kind of burnt out on that. I'll just be the mom, take care
Mm-hmm.
of people. And so I somewhat did that and married relatively early. I would say 23 is somewhat early. Had my first daughter at 27, and then by 30 I had my last, so I have three daughters. And after I had my last daughter, that was when it was discovered that I had thyroid disease, but it took them literally the better part of a year to diagnose me. We went through the
Mm.
gamut of, you've got, anxiety and depression, let me throw this medicine at it, to oh, we found
Oh.
this KRE malformation. Don't do anything. You can't lift anything heavier than a milk jug. And I mean,
Oh.
it just was all over the place, crazy. And then finally, we got to that diagnosis that was accurate. I mean, at that point in my life, I had two and a double stroller, and I would, struggle just to make it from one end of the parking lot to the other, picking up my, kindergartner at school. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't like even move the steering wheel without my arms feeling like lead. I couldn't dry my hair. It
Wow.
was a lot because my heart rate was just wild. So from 30 to the time that I had my thyroid removed in my early 40s, I think I was 42. I was sick, in and out of remission, and on beta blockers and bed rest, and I felt like the world's most terrible mother. And
Mm.
I did quit smoking because I began researching and found that that was one thing that could make my disease progress and be worse than
That's
all the
motivating.
symptoms. Yes. So I quit smoking and started trying to get healthy. And the doctors had already been saying the thyroid has to go. And I'm like, no, God gave me this. I'm supposed to keep it. He'll restore my health. And, sometimes the answer is no.
True.
And I finally got the message. And once I had my thyroid removed, you read it, I felt limitless for the first time in my life. And it was just such a gift.
Wow. Okay, there's so many avenues I want to go down.
Oh,
Let me
well, I'm
start.
here, girl.
Yeah, okay. Let me start with, can you explain Graves' disease and when, like I know you went through a series of hoops to get that
Yeah.
diagnosis. Can you just explain to me, to the audience, what Graves' disease is?
Yes. Okay. The best way I can describe it is when your body attacks its own thyroid gland. So that's what was happening. My body was attacking. It didn't recognize my thyroid as being a part of me.
Oh,
So it created all these antibodies, and that stimulated my thyroid to dump more thyroid stimulating hormone into my body than I needed. So the
mm,
thyroid's responsible for running everything in your body, your endocrine system. It regulates your heart rate, your hair growth, your nails, sweating, your digestion, everything. So when that's out of whack, as you can imagine, just about everything in your life becomes affected. Like my hands would tremble, they were sweaty. I felt like, oh, I was in a state of fight or flight almost all the time when I was not right, when my medicines weren't taking care of the problem. So, and then you get into states, if it got really bad, called thyroid toxicosis, where your body's literally poisoned because it can't process that amount of thyroid stimulating hormone at one time. And my eyes
that makes sense.
became affected.
Your eyes became affected?
Yes, they have a secondary disease called thyroid eye disease that can happen, and it makes your eyes bulge because the optic nerve thickens, and it can affect your vision. It can affect the way you look. It was a very humbling experience. It taught me, well, I mean, like scripture says, lean not on your own understanding, right? I mean, it taught me that I can't solve all my own problems on my own. I need community, I need God, I need Western medicine. I even need a little alternative medicine in there to be the most optimal me.
Wow. You know, that is fascinating for so many reasons. I
Probably
mean,
rattling on too much, Celeste. I'm sorry.
you're not at all. I'm processing this because I feel like what I don't want to do is breeze over it like it's nothing. And I think
Right.
it's important we discuss what all is happening so we can conceptualize the incredible journey that you've had as a result and from that. And I think it's like the hero's journey, we need to find that origin story for you. And
Oh,
yeah, so I want to spend my time on it and process it. And something that I thought about was obviously as competitors where we get our blood work done, we check our hormones, we do all those things,
Yeah,
but you probably had a pre-existing knowledge of what to look for your body specifically. How does not having a thyroid affect you and what you need to look out for in specifically competing?
sure. I'm a firm believer in a lot of things are as we believe they are, right?
Mhm.
So I could say, oh my gosh, I don't have a thyroid, so I could never do that. Or conversely, I could choose to say, oh my word, I don't have a thyroid. I just am going to take medication and that's going to regulate it. I don't have to worry about it ever again, right?
Right.
So I can choose. So
Mm.
I've always just kind of choose the latter rather than the former. And I don't know any other way. Um, the biggest adjustment for me was going from synthroid to armor thyroid.
Mm.
Or really, it was from going from no thyroid to synthroid, and then from synthroid to armor thyroid, if that makes any sense.
Mhm.
So they go through this period of adjustment when you don't have a thyroid to find they just kind of like throw a dart at a board and say, we're going to start you here and hopefully this will solve your problem. So they give you a starting dose of synthroid and you just report back as to how you feel. And I remember saying, um, I don't feel great. Surely I could feel better than this. So I started researching and I found that Synthroid doesn't address all of the thyroid hormones and it's lab created, whereas Armor and NP thyroid are natural and they've got the full thyroid hormonal profile. So it's like, why don't we try this? So that sent me to the Armor thyroid, and a lot of doctors don't want to go there because it's not easily titrated. The health of the animal plays into how potent the drugs can be. But it's been beautiful for me. I felt, like I said, so much better than I felt when I had Graves' disease that I thought, man, God, you did me a solid. I really need to pay this forward. I've got to figure out how to do that.
Mhm.
Did I even answer your question?
You
Did I go
did.
off on a tangent?
No, you did. The fascinating thing there too is like you have been on a journey of trying to figure out what's going to work best for your body. And that's you're navigating a whole new body. You were so used to being in pain, struggle, exhaustion, that to then have that removed and finally feel free. I imagine learning to navigate that was probably somewhat, I don't know, I wanna look at it positively and say that was really great, but I also imagine there were times where you're like, "Oh my gosh, I've been feeling this bad for this long, I didn't know how good it could be."
It's funny that you say that. I can't remember ever really thinking that. And that may sound weird, but I've always
Mm.
thought, man, this is awesome. Man, this is great. Thank you, God. Like, this
Mhm.
is just amazing. And what can I not do? And if you and I agree that I can do this, for sure I can. Who's
Yeah.
going to tell me I can't? So it's just been a blessing and amazing. And of course, I'm human and I have really rotten days. And,
Yeah.
once a spoonie, always a spoonie. I'm always going to have autoimmune disease. My body's always going to be fighting itself on
Mhm.
something. But dude, I feel so much better than I've ever felt. So I can't be salty about that.
Huh, I resonate with that so much. Like, I think when we get out of things that are challenging or we create a new lifestyle, a new result of some sort, we are just able to say in gratitude that we're happy to be here now. Even if looking back, it's like, "Well, what if I had been there sooner? Did it like there's nothing we can do. So
No.
putting that next step forward and with gratitude and also accepting that things are
Yes.
bad sometimes, but they're not as bad as they were. And I think that's a great mentality, especially like for developing resilience. I think
Oh yeah.
it requires us to say, well, what have I overcome already? And how can I use that strength from the overcoming to overcome the next thing that comes my way? Because we know there's going to be more.
Oh, for sure. Yes, more opportunities for sure. And then the other thing, and I'm sure you do this, I say when I'm in my right frame. The other thing I
Um,
do when I'm in my right frame of mind, my right frame of reference is,
mm,
I just I flip the switch if I can get there. Like if I feel like something's really terrible happening to me, I'll go, okay, well, I'm going to get on the other side of this eventually. And
mhm,
it's never failed that when I look back, it's been really a mixed blessing. God will all things work for good, right? For those who love the Lord. So all those things that have happened to me in the past, that the time that I've thought, this is terrible, this is horrific, I've come out and I've been like, this has been the most beautiful blessing in my
mm,
life. This has been the source of one of the most beautiful and prosperous times of my life.
mhm.
So I guess that comes too with age. They told me in my 20s, we don't know if you can have a baby. And I got pregnant with my first, and we named her Grace, you know?
Oh, that's
So
my
you just,
sister's name.
oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. Is
That's
there is
perfect.
there a similar story there, maybe?
No, there's not actually, but I love that. I love the
But
story you shared about your daughter.
oh, well, thank you. And those are the things too that kind of cement and seal your faith as you go
Mhm.
through life. So
Why did they say you would never have kids because of the autoimmune?
no, this was before they discovered all of that. I had to have part of my cervix removed, and
Yeah.
they feared that I would have an incompetent cervix.
Oh,
Um, and I didn't, but I did have preeclampsia and gestational diabetes.
oh man.
I
Wow.
know, girl.
Wow. Wow. Well, and then you had a second daughter, right?
Yes, I've had three daughters. My second pregnancy was probably my healthiest.
Mm.
Um, Her name's Emma.
Mhm.
And then my youngest is Claire.
Mm.
So, yeah.
That's amazing. How old are your daughters?
So Grace just turned 28. Emma was
Wow.
born in 99, so that makes her 25, right? Help me.
Uh-huh.
25
Uh-huh.
this year.
No, wait.
And
Yes,
then
I think.
I think, yeah, right.
Don't
And
ask me to
Claire,
do math.
me neither, girl. Claire was born in 2000. So,
Oh, that's cool. They're close.
yes, we used to say twins the hard way. I got pregnant with Claire when I was nursing Emma.
Oh,
Yes, girl.
wow. I respect, you know what I'm saying? That's heavy. That's a
I
lot.
do know what you're saying.
Yeah, well, you know better than me. I only witnessed my sister, go through pregnancy to have her baby, and me and her were just talking the other day. We're like, can you
Oh,
imagine having a baby like literally a year later? And now I'm like talking to you, and I'm like, well, that must have been incredibly difficult for many reasons.
oh, you just spin it. It was really awesome having them close together. I mean,
Oh,
at the
I
time, I will be honest, I was like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? I
yeah.
remember finding out and I was crying,
Oh,
nursing my daughter, going, no. I
um,
know. And now I'm like, oh, I can't imagine it any other
yeah,
way. Thank
yeah.
you.
I
Yeah.
love that's that taking the thought captive and transforming it. And I think that's
Yes.
such a beautiful act to do and participate in on a consistent basis. A lot of people underestimate that or brush it off like that doesn't matter, but it's true. A lot of the times our initial thought should be questioned until we get to a point where we've transformed our normal pathway of thinking to one that is maybe gratitude based or opportunity
Right.
based, growth based. And I sense a lot of gratitude from you. And I can just imagine how amazing it must have felt to find out you were pregnant after having been told that you may not have kids.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it was amazing. And one of the fears was, will I be able to hold her to term? And
Mm.
yeah, I told you I had gestational diabetes and preeclampsia, and preeclampsia develops usually later on, and as does gestational diabetes. So I was put on bed rest.
Wow.
Uh, and I was so scared, but my
Yeah.
mom took care of me every single day. My husband would drop me off at her house, and
Wow.
she would cook low sodium, low sugar.
Oh,
I know she did it all to made sure I stayed in the recliner with a blanket because I couldn't get up and move around all that much because my blood pressure was dicey. It was crazy because I wasn't even overweight, but I was a smoker. So there you go.
you know, can't help but point this out as we're talking. I sit in front of a window and there's a cloud going by that's heart shaped. And I know that your mom has been a big part of your life. And I just think as you were talking about her, for that to happen right now is pretty amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. She she's an angel, literally. She
Hmm.
she passed away in October. I guess you know that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why I mentioned it. I didn't want to say that without you bringing it up, but
Thank
yeah.
you. I
Hmm.
appreciate that. Um
Mm.
yeah, she's been really amazing. She's one of the strongest women that I will ever have the pleasure of knowing. Super
Mm.
country strong.
Sounds like it. Sounds amazing.
Yes, she is.
Oh, I love that. I know I feel the same way about my mom. And when I lost her, I'm just glad I had her for the time I had her. With instead of
Yeah.
focusing on, although sometimes I do focus on the fact that I don't have her anymore, and that's hard.
Well, we're human.
I try to remind
Yeah.
myself, like, well, she put a lot of love in the years that I got to be with her.
No, I love that.
Yeah, and I just think it's wonderful that she took care of you. Especially it's like full circle, right? Like your
Oh,
mom cared for you, you're growing a child to care for, and your mom is making sure her
yes.
baby is good.
Oh, and Celeste, I'm going to share with you this other moment. It was
Yeah,
very
please.
poignant. So she died of bile duct cancer, and it just spread. But we were at the house. It was, I want to say, last September. So it was just a short while before she passed away, and she was bedridden. And we had to feed her eventually there towards the end. And my daughter, Emma, was pregnant, very pregnant. She had her last daughter in November, right around Thanksgiving.
Mhm.
So Emma was pregnant and she was sitting at my mom's bedside. And my mom was there in the bed, and I was sitting on my mother's like other bed. My mom was in a hospital bed in her
Yeah.
room. And I was just watching Emma feed my mother, thinking, this is this is this is the circle.
Yeah.
This is it. We've got my mom, we've got me, my baby, and her baby. Like, it's just,
Oh.
this is crazy. So Emma named her daughter that was born a month later Elena Joyce.
Mm.
Elaine is my middle name, and Joyce is my mom's.
Oh,
And that's sweet.
that's so special. That says
And
a lot right there. That's a lot of love.
no, I didn't even know. I didn't even think about Elena. Like, Elaine is my middle name. I didn't even think
Yeah.
about that. And she goes, Mom, I did that because I wanted her to have your name and your mom's name. And I went, and she
Mm.
goes, Yeah, I just didn't like Elaine. I'm
So
like,
it
Me
makes
neither.
sense.
I'm like,
She
I like Elena
you're the
better
root
too.
word of it. So that's good.
Yeah.
You're at the center. Oh, that's so cool. What a great story. My sister actually named her son Jack, and my mom's name was Jacqueline, and she often went by Jax. So that was
Oh,
like a nod to my mom actually. So I think that's really special. It just shows that love, right? And
yes.
It's
It
a beautiful thing to not take for granted.
not, yeah, totally. So sweet.
I love that we can talk about that because I think what was often not seen is the struggles that can happen in life. These are life things, right?
Right,
Unfortunately, people pass away. Unfortunately, things change. Gratefully, new life comes in. And I think it's important to talk about how these things can affect us. Because I know when I lost my mom, I started going, what's the purpose of all this bodybuilding stuff I'm doing? Like, I'm like,
right,
oh, I gotta, yeah, just another day waking up to do my cardio and hit the gym and track my food. And it's like, what in the heck? Now, granted, I kept doing it because I knew there was a version of me that believed it was a worthwhile endeavor and one that I knew I enjoyed. However, there were some of those thoughts in my head where nothing matters, nothing matters after
right.
something this extreme. So I'm curious how that loss affected maybe your outlook on this lifestyle or those goals.
Yeah, that's fair. So we got the diagnosis of a growth on her pancreas a year prior to the diagnosis of bile duct cancer. And they said at that time, this will eventually turn into cancer. But we thought, that could be years, right? I mean, you just never know. And they also said because she was in advanced age and in poor health, you couldn't withstand the surgery, the Whipple surgery.
Mm.
So she just agreed to just press on with no treatments. And, we thought we'd have plenty of time. And you fast forward to the following December, and we found ourselves in the hospital with our lives changed and forever in and out of hospitals from that point on, December of 2022 to her demise in 2023, October.
Mm.
Um, so I went through the better part of the year and all of my competing um, in and out of the house, helping my dad care for her. I'm the only one here. My brother lives in Valencia, California,
Oh.
to help. So I would travel back and forth from their house to my house and just do all the things. My daughter and her husband and their children also live with us. So I kind of liken myself, and I say that people who are in the situation, because I'm not unique, I'm not the only person in this situation, but we're the cream filling, and our children are like one cookie, and our parents are the other cookie, right?
Yep.
We just have to stay sweet and vacillate back and forth and take care and do the best we can. But I'm not gonna lie, it was a lot. It was a lot. Um, on the good days, I was very grateful that I could spend time with her and still do all the things I needed to do for my clients and be a wife present and a grandmother and a mother and all the things and still be prepping when it came down to that.
Right.
Um, but when she passed, um, it was kind of cathartic. I mean, I was with her. My father was with her. We were both there in her bedroom with her. And it almost, it was surreal. Um, did that really just happen? And I remember picking out her clothes and,
Mm.
the proper wig and all the
Mm.
things, going through the motions for the funeral at the funeral home with dad.
Yeah.
Uh, and I was supposed to go out the next week for a competition. Is that crazy?
Did you?
um, I did not, because he wound up in a heart cath lab the following week.
No.
So he's in very poor health with heart problems. That's another sidebar.
Yeah.
But
Were they married still?
yes, yes,
Wow.
better than 60 years.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. He woke up every day just looking forward to taking care of his bride. And that's what he would say.
Wow.
So, and I still wonder, have I processed everything? Are there feelings I still need to feel? Am I supposed to have a cry every once in a while? Because those things aren't happening. But then I think everyone processes differently. Don't beat yourself up, you know.
Mhm.
Um, she was loved, so very loved. And there are those moments that it just comes crashing in. Um, and I'll just tell me if I need to shut up at any point. But I sat down in the den the other night and I have Apple TV. And you know how you sit down and Apple TV has a mind of its own.
Yes, it does.
Seriously, for whatever reason, it was on the photos tab, and my mom's big giant head popped up on the screen.
Oh, wow.
And instead of going, "There's mom," I went, "Oh my gosh."
Mm.
And it said, "Play slideshow of Maxine over the years."
Mhm.
And of course I did.
Of course.
Of course. And it was amazing, but it just was so bittersweet. You've had those moments, right?
Everything you're saying, I'm like, yeah, I get that. That's why, like when you said grief can look so different for everyone, I'm
Yeah,
like, that's probably like the biggest thing I realized is even among my own family, our grief has looked different and how we've
right.
processed even life after death because, losing my mom, it's like I'm also losing the vision of my mom and dad because they were together still. So now it's like I'm grieving the loss of my parents being together. And
Yes.
there's so much grief that comes with it. And you're right, like some days it's like I'm a ball on the couch crying. And then other days I don't. I'm not crying. I'm elated. I'm happy. Or sometimes I'm telling you, I know my mom is saying hi to me and I'll like
Yes.
pray to God. I'm just like, hey, give her some extra hugs today. And
No.
then she'll visit me in my dreams. And like
Yes.
it
Isn't that
feels
the
so,
best
yes, and it actually feels more real than any other dream that I have.
thing? Yeah.
So yeah, I can absolutely relate. And I don't, the more I tried to understand my grief, the less I felt it. So I started to just say, you know what? Just feel whatever is coming up, feel it and that is good and that is enough. And my mom and your mom deserve that because we love them. And so I started seeing grief as an opportunity to love continuously.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Yes. That is great.
Thanks for sharing that so openly too and talking about this because I know you're not alone in this. And I know from me sharing my experiences over the last few years with it, other people have shared how much it resonates with them. So I know this conversation is touching people. There's even that this is actually something I think you're a perfect person to talk to about. There's a pre-grieving process that comes for so many people at this phase in life where
Hmm.
you're caretaking and
Yeah.
your parents are no longer indestructible or invincible or immortal. So
Right.
you almost pre-grieve losing them. And I've received many messages of like, I'm worried of losing my parents. I know the time is going to come. And I can't really speak to that because the loss of my mom was incredibly sudden and unexpected. But I think for
Right.
those who had seen it coming, can you maybe speak to that and like how you even if you felt that and
Yeah.
managed that?
Well, okay. The way that it happened with my mom, um, I told you she was country
Yeah.
strong.
Yeah.
She grew up a sharecropper's daughter in the 1930s. So
Wow.
38, right?
Wow. She's strong. She's strong, strong. She probably grew up with her like putting clothing on the front porch for the neighbors during the Depression strong.
Girl, yes, her mother used to sew flour sack panties and
That's
like
yeah,
they
that's
they were having baths on in like wash basins with kettle heated water. So
yeah, that's
no
perspective.
electricity, no running water, country strong.
Mm-hmm.
So as you can imagine, she was very stoic. She's very much a spendthrift growing up in that era. And
Mhm.
that speaks to her character, as far as how she would face an illness. Um, you did not see her complain. You know, she wasn't one to cry out in pain, none of
Mhm.
that stuff. And she was a caregiver. She had that whole persona of one who never needed to be cared for, but was always the caregiver. Um, so to see her um, breaking and behave uncharacteristically, it there were moments in which I was in denial of that, because I'm like, who is this, and then you come to a part where you're like, I've got to accept this, because obviously she's in so much pain, right? This is a part of her journey, and I'm so scared for her. So you have a mixed bag of emotions that are happening when you watch something like this take over a loved one's life, because you experience everything that they experience with them. So I watched her go from, like I said, Celeste, really super strong to frail, and not able to do anything for herself anymore. Um, and then finally, there towards the end, she sat me down, and she wasn't very forthcoming with the gushy feelings, the whole, you're the best, and, yeah, I love you more than anything. She's never been that kind of mom, but I never doubted
Mhm.
her love for me either.
Yeah.
But the last month, she was saying things like, Pamela, I have been praying that the Lord would take me home. And I
Mm.
want you to know that you've been the best daughter. You've been such a wonderful daughter. And yeah, when it
Wow.
comes to that, you finally hear the things that you thought that you needed to hear all your life. And you're like, thank you, God. But no, this can't be
Mhm.
the end. So it is. It's like it's a journey. And every bit of it is for a purpose. I think God lets you have all the feelings so that when it comes time, it's really time.
Mm.
I knew she had suffered. I knew she was in pain. I knew she was broken. I knew she was ready. And I knew it was selfish for me to want to keep her here. So the only other thing to do was to let her go.
Mhm.
So I
You
don't
had
know
to,
if that will help anyone. I hope it will.
yeah, it's so helpful. I'm what I'm getting from that is like you had to be in the position to accept that that was happening and coming, and also how wonderful that your mom was able to have that conversation with you and
Mm-hmm.
share where her head and her heart was at. And I think that speaks to the importance of having these conversations with loved ones.
Oh, yeah.
Don't avoid it. And that's something I try to explain to people when it comes to anything, not even just like pre-grieving, but anything in life that is weighing on you or you're worrying about, talk about it, because sometimes we find that our worries are actually not reflective of reality. But we also can find that just talking about it relieves so much of the pain or the concern, and then the person also gets to experience that love from you, to know like, wow, they care so much that they want to have this conversation even though it's difficult and not fun. Like, it's not fun to talk to your family about a will. It's not fun to go over plans when a family member dies. None of that is fun, but it's life, and it's to to honor people. I think we have to have those difficult conversations.
Yes. Yes. Definitely. Um,
And before it happens, so then you can say beautiful things like what your mom said to you.
I know. I know. That was such a gift. And I know that 20 years prior, she wouldn't have been able to, right?
Mhm,
So it
mhm.
was like God just led the journey.
Yeah.
Um, And it was exactly, I mean, just designed perfectly. But anyway, it was a lot.
Yeah.
Definitely.
There's
Definitely.
this is a part of now this is going to sound like a really awkward transition to talk about competing, but I'm trying
Oh,
to
no worries.
what I
Let's
want to
get lighter.
well, I was gonna say this is something a lot of masters competitors are going through, but don't
Yeah, for
talk about
sure.
because so many masters competitors are in this phase of life where they're
Right.
caretaking, they have their kids and they
Yep.
have their parents and they have their relationship and they're around that time in their relationship where maybe kids have just left the house or they're gonna be leaving the house and now they're like refining their marriage
Yeah.
or relationship with their spouse in a new way while also managing these changes that come with uh, caretaking. And I just think as you've experienced and obviously overcome a lot of things as we've discussed, you can speak to some of these struggles masters competitors face. And I imagine that those challenges likely influenced you as a athlete because you said you were even in prep when all this was happening. So how do
Yeah.
you think facing and overcoming those types of challenges from your early adulthood as well as more recently actually supported you, or maybe the opposite is true, supported you with competing?
That is a good question. And I have to give you a nod. You are wise beyond your years, girl.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, it is just blowing me away every time you like set up a
Oh,
new question for me. I'm like, wow, that girl.
thank you.
Um, you're welcome. So I do believe that everything that we go through, and this is cliche, but it's true, we grow through. And I believe that everything that happens to us serves a purpose in our lives. So I have tried to look back and reflect on those times that I've told you I perceived might have been really stressful or really terrible. And I find the blessing on the other side. So then I go, wow, thank you.
Mm,
So I'm working on that one with my mom. Yes.
yeah.
But I will say prep saved me. I know you hear this a lot, and
Mhm.
it's very common. It was the only thing in my life I felt that I had control over for that entire year. And as of late, it's been the only thing I've felt that I've had complete control of. I can control my, time in the gym. I can control the food that I eat. I can control whether or not I do my cardio, right? But I
Yeah.
can't control what's happening to my mom. I
Mhm.
can't control my dad and his heart problem. Can't control. I'll pray like crazy, right?
Mhm.
But I can't control it. So I try to let go of the worry and, give it to God and put the energy into something as productive as I possibly can, which is oftentimes my work, helping other ladies. And at that time, prep helped me a lot
Yeah.
work through all the emotional.
Prep is like, it's this, I have so many perspectives on it, especially working in mental health. I see it as for some people, it could be like their crutch and it can become
Yeah,
the only way that they cope. And then for other people, it's like it gives them an ability to step away from all the craziness of life and focus on themselves and their goals, their dreams, their passions, the things that make them healthy and feel good. So I think we
right,
walk this fine line as competitors where we can't let competing be our only coping mechanism, but we can
right,
recognize it as beneficial and helpful to our lives. And it sounds like for you, it was beneficial from early on because you found fitness after really rediscovering your body functioning at a healthy level. Um,
right.
which actually, how did you establish a love for fitness when you experience that relief from because here's what I'm thinking. Some people will
Yeah,
experience that and then just be like, okay, I feel better, like now I'm good? What made you go, I feel better and I want to be even more than that?
Oh gosh. Well, I told you I quit smoking when I had Graves' disease and still had
Mhm.
my thyroid. So, when I quit smoking, I actually was making an attempt at becoming healthier. I was trying to learn how to run. I was spending time in the gym, and it felt like, I'd get 2 steps forward and get knocked back 10 because my thyroid would rear up and
Mhm.
rear. It was something I wasn't going to win at with the thyroid, unfortunately. So after they removed it, I said, okay, God, what do we do now? Yeah, I feel like you've really done me a solid here. I've
Mhm.
got to pay it forward. And I was like, how do I do this? So I then decided to become a personal trainer. Um, and I was like, okay, now I've got the certification. Why would people hire me? I'm
Mhm.
not so great at anything. I can't run. Years of smoking keeps me from being a great runner.
Mhm.
I mean, I went through the battery. I was like, what can I do? What can I do? And I was like, I bet I could do this.
Yeah.
And I prayed about it, and that was where he led me. Um, and the NPC I thought was going to provide me with a platform to reach ladies who never thought that they could do the things that they really can do. I just find that women have the habit of, and not just women, in our humanity, we have the habit of self defeating behavior. We say, oh, I can't do that. I'm too fat. Or, oh, I can't do that. I have a terrible genes. Or, I can't do that. I'm too unhealthy. We buy into all the excuses.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to have a platform to speak to ladies to say, please really second guess that. You really can. Don't count yourself out. Um, because if I can, anyone can.
Hmm. That's right. And just speaking off of that, like I want to branch off of that a bit more. If there are people out there listening to this who are in a similar situation with a very unhealthy lifestyle, but a calling to improve, w- or maybe they know someone who's in this situation, what would you want
Yeah.
them to know?
Um, to not be discouraged, it would be the most important thing, and to be your own health advocate. That's
Mm.
probably one of the most important, significant things that I walked away with, excuse me, with respect to all the challenges I've faced with my body. Not all doctors have all the answers, and I told you that the first doctor put me on Synthroid, and I didn't feel great. So
Mhm.
I questioned it. I'm like, what's out there? There's got to be something out there. If you have a hunch and you have a computer, do your own due diligence. Um, and, connect with people who might have suffered with something similar that might be able to help you. Most people who have gone through any type of health crisis are happy to share any of the knowledge that they've come across and pay it forward.
What were some of the disciplines or habits that you developed or focused on that were once really hard for you, or maybe somebody else suggested to you that now seem like easy or part of your day or something you'd recommend to others?
Mm. Well, okay. I started, and it's been quite a long while ago. I started reading a lot of books
Mm.
in an effort to continually grow in knowledge, because I really think it's important to strive for that just as a human in general. And I never would have dreamed in my 20s that that would be the me that would be sitting here talking to you today. But to always be in pursuit of growth and truth, and I think that's really important. But yeah, that's one thing I never thought that I would be doing. Reading every day, starting my day off with prayer, cardio. I mean, seriously, you ask me as a 20-year-old, I'd be like, what? If you told me I'd be doing that, then, you know, I would have said with a cigarette hanging out of my mouth, right?
That's iconic that you've had that transformation because it's like you've lived these two completely opposite lives.
Sister, if you only knew.
Actually, did you are married? Are you married?
Yes, yes, I've been married 30 plus years.
Okay, see now I'm doing some math here. I could do this math. So when you met your husband, did you just quit smoking or were you in that lifestyle?
Oh, I was smoking. I was smoking. So when I met him, I was 21, I want to say, right at.
Uh-huh.
And we got engaged at 22 and married at 20. I was 23. He's 3 years older than I am.
Love it.
So we've been married since then, and I'm 55. So 32 years.
Wow.
Yeah,
How
32 years.
that's beautiful. Well, wow, because you've undergone quite a lot of transformation in that time.
It
What kind
has
of
been,
life
oh, go ahead. No, you're good.
what kind of lifestyle was he living?
So when I met him,
Yeah. Yeah.
from honestly, when I met him, I thought you are the iconic frat boy.
Uh-oh. That's probably
Yes,
why you
girl.
liked him.
No, because I was the rebel without a cause for sure.
Uh-huh. Like, so
I
why
mean,
why would you not go for the frat boy who you think will probably not? Yeah.
oh, I pushed him. I was like, nope, not you, nope.
I bet. I bet.
And God has his way. I'm telling you. I mean, he just kept on, and I was like, yes, you're cute, but you're not my type. We'll just be friends.
What was your type?
Um, my type, Celeste, honestly, I had a lot to grow through at that
Mm,
stage in the game. My type was the boy who did not treat me well.
right.
The boy who was rebellious. Usually he was a musician, you know,
Yeah.
not responsible, someone I could
Hmm.
fix.
Hmm.
Um, and I really seriously thank God that he drew me to Bobby like a moth to a flame because of his faith. It was his faith. And
Oh.
and it was him too, obviously, but
Wow. When you said frat boy, I had a completely different impression.
he's a good Catholic boy. And I didn't grow up Catholic.
Mm.
So we could go on so many. You're gonna know all
I
about
know.
me.
I'm like, so did you go up Baptist because you're from the South? How'd you grow?
I grew up Presbyterian.
Okay, okay.
And in my younger years, we would go to church. And then as in my preteen and teen years, they sort of did not make it a big priority for us. So I started seeking out in the junior high years, some of my friends who were Catholic, and I would beg to go to mass with them. I don't
Wow.
know why, but I would beg to go to mass. And for my 13th birthday, one of my best friend's mothers gave me a rosary. I still have it.
Oh, sweet.
And fast forward through high school years, I was totally rebellious, every mother and father's nightmare. Just to give you a snippet, my parents threatened to make me a ward of the court on the daily.
Wow.
Um, and then I get to college and meet Bobby, and I see this faith
Mm.
that he's living out and his whole family. And I'm like, this is amazing. I
Wow.
mean, I'm not only in love with you, but I'm in love with your
Mm.
faith. I'm in love with your family. I'm in love with all of this, please, I just want to plug in anywhere. So it was a
Oh,
get. It was amazing.
that's a big transformation to go from being the one who's trying to like attach or resolve others. You like
Hmm.
surrendering and being like, well, that's the life I really want to be living. And yeah, thank God for that.
Right.
Wow. This is so
Yeah.
cool. I'm learning so much. It's just fascinating. Like, this is something I really appreciate about interviewing masters competitors too. It's like there's a whole life that's been lived.
Oh,
And
yeah.
in a few weeks, I'm going to a bodybuilding retreat that I'm speaking at on mental health. And I spoke with these women last year at the same one, and most of them are masters, and I just always learn so much from masters competitive. I mean, I learn so much from every woman I encounter. It's just like there's so much life that's been lived. So I almost feel like I get all this insight from people in their 20s, 30s, 40s,
Yeah.
50s, 60s, 70s. It's awesome. And
That's
it's
so cool.
yeah, well, I think the human experience is just so cool. And I love how you met your husband at a time where you were different and you've evolved. And you talked about some of the habits that you have now and how you'd look like that version of you'd be like, no way. But here you are, and you've done extremely well for yourself as well as a competitor and as a coach.
Right.
I'm
Thank you.
curious, like from a coaching perspective, what are some of the things that you think people should have mastered, if anything, before they even begin competing?
Oh, mindset.
Hmm.
Honestly, I mean, you have to lord over your mind. It's so powerful. And we talked about the way we choose to frame things, and perspective is everything. So wake up in the morning and don't say, I have to, blah, blah, blah. Dude, I get to. Isn't it a blessing I have an able body that
Mhm.
can move and do these things? So many people can't,
Yeah.
right? So, and the whole eating, a lot of competitors want to, oh, this is terrible. I'm like, wow, look, if we eat this way, it elicits this response in us. That
Mm.
is so cool. You have to read that book by Carol Dweck,
What's the book?
Growth Mindset, The Growth Mindset.
Okay.
It's wonderful. It is so, so good. You want to keep that. And just I mean, the minute you think you're done, you are.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's
conversely, if you think you can go on, you're right there too. So you've got to master your mind.
I really agree with that. And I agree also that we have to look at this lifestyle for all that it brings us. And
Yes.
even though it poses us different challenges and unique struggles, it's all a choice. None of it is something we have to do. And
Right.
if we have a view on it like this is only for my physique, we're missing the, I think we're really missing the whole picture. Because sure, you get on stage and you're being judged on your physique, but what's happening day in and day out leading into that, that's what matters more. And I think a lot of competitors get caught up in thinking they need to participate in a particular process in order to get a particular outcome. But as
Right.
the saying goes, there's many ways to skin a cat. And it's important to find the process that works best for you in this, because you don't want to get to the end of your bodybuilding journey and be literally living every day like, oh, I need to go do this. Oh, I need to go to, it's like you don't have to do that to yourself. And the people around you are going to hear you talk like that, and they're not going to
Right.
want to support you because they're going to be like, well, I don't know why you are doing it then if
Exactly. Yeah, you do have a choice.
yeah, like I think the only time I've complained about bodybuilding is when I'm in a mindset of like I forget the gratitude, I forget the choice. If I get there, I'll complain, but that's so far away from me as a competitor now, and I'm grateful for that. So I agree, mastering your mindset is important, and not judging yourself in that process, because
Yes.
you need to have like curiosity and compassion in order to create real change to your mentality and the way that you think. So you can say, hey, that thought doesn't align with the athlete I want to be. So what could I change that to? Like you said, instead of looking at your body and being hypercritical, you could look at your body and
Right.
thank it for all that it's done for you.
Yes, yes, yes. So much. And if we can just like look at everything as being on the journey that's a challenge, as being something that is a potential for building our character instead of, a cross
Mhm.
to bear, right?
Yes.
This is going to mold me into a better version of who I'm aiming to be. If we can just kind of even look at it like that, that would be stellar.
Do you have any major mistakes or lessons, or maybe even like wins and breakthroughs from your journey that stand out to you where you're like, I'll never forget that?
Girl, please. And I have no shame because I feel like I've told you, that's been a part of the blessing. You know, everything that you go through is responsible for making you who you are in this moment.
Mhm.
So the fact that I dropped out of high school at 17, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Wow.
and then went to an adult vo-tech school because I couldn't get back into my school. They won't let you back in, and that I then went back to my original high school and graduated with my class.
Wow.
You know, that's not a mistake. That was intended for me. I had a choice and that's what I chose, and it was intended, and it made me, that was a part of what made me who I am today, right?
Yes.
Um Gosh, I'm trying to think of some other things right off. I mean, my brain's not firing on as quickly as it does sometimes, but that's an example for sure.
Well, that's a great example. And I mean, you have done over, I mean, I've done 13 competitions and I sometimes forget that, but you've done over 50 competitions since 2013, and you have grown so much since then as the division has grown.
Um,
Like I was going through NPC news and I was like, holy moly, like that's a big change. Like you've grown a lot, you've developed a lot. Now
Thank
this
you.
might, you may not like this question or like to answer it, but do you like the development of the bikini division since then? Like what are your thoughts on it?
It's so like it's changed so much.
So much.
I mean, in 2013, I think they were just starting to define
Hmm.
what they were looking for in the iconic bikini girl, and it has grown in mass. It has grown in a lot of different ways. Like the posing's changed, everything. So I do actually. There comes a point at which, I'll cap myself off with respect to growth, because not only, can it not be achieved naturally for me.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm of a certain age and my hormones are completely different from a 20 somethings.
Yep.
So do I think it's beautiful? Yes, I do think it's beautiful. I think the conditioning is exactly where it was last year, and they said it wasn't going to be quite so.
Mhm.
I haven't seen a pullback from what they're, rewarding thus far, which hopefully that will begin to change and water down a little bit throughout the course of the year. It may take a minute. They say it and then it takes a minute for that to transpire, but it's remarkable. It's been a really fun watching and trying to kind of keep up and having the gauntlet thrown and jumping through the hoops.
Yeah. And when you think about like all the like the bikini division and how it's evolved over the years, even if
Yeah.
you look at the past winners, what I find like super fascinating is like around when, so the year before you started, like around then, like Natalia,
Oh yeah, she's gorgeous.
yeah, and she was muscular. Like
Hmm.
she was muscular. And then we had Ashley Kay take it for the next 3 years. And then I actually thought it was interesting because when like through Ashley to then Courtney King, like the conditioning got there, but it seemed like there was like if you compare their physiques to Natalia, like Natalia just had so much more muscle, but like also not as conditioned, it seemed. But like
Right.
if you really go back all the way to the history of bikini, it's
Nicole
not
Negroni.
Nicole Negrani.
Right.
Exactly. None of these girls have been small, is what I'm trying to
Amanda
say.
Latona. Right. I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
They,
so like
the
they
conditioning
pioneered
was
this
nothing.
division. Yep. It well, yeah, compared to now, it's like completely different.
Right.
Still a beautiful I still love the division as it is
Oh,
and
it's gorgeous.
but I also am like I think we forget to look back on history and be like we had some like really the bikini division has changed so much, yet also not at all. You know what I mean? Like some things
Yeah.
that change actually stay the same, but it's like just evolved in different ways. And the way we wear our bikini and the way we pose also makes the physique look different. Like I would say, if you looked at like Nicole Negrani when she was like really out there competing, like this sounds potentially like controversial, but I don't know that she would if she posed like we pose now, maybe she would win at a national level. But it's like
Right.
different. It's so different, but it was still the bikini shape. And that really like started setting the tone. And then the first Bikini Olympia winner, that was what was that, 2010? Um, she also had a lot of muscle. Like she had delts on her. Sonia,
Right.
she had delts on her. And I'm
Wow.
like, we don't like we forget that this has just evolved in different ways and shapes and sizes. So like, and I looked at your photos from 2013 and I was like, Pamela was freaking jacked. Like, and you still are, but you had muscle, like a lot of muscle even then. So I think sometimes people say, oh, the bikini division's getting too big. And while I agree, I wouldn't want it to get necessarily much bigger from here or more conditioned from here. I do
Right.
still love where it is and you having been through all of these years and seeing it grow and actually growing with it. What was interesting to me was you competed every single year and you still have since 2017. How did you incur growth and and be so competitive competing every year?
Well, okay. And that's really kind of weird too, because I am what I would consider to be a hard gainer.
Huh.
I'm more of a, well, I'm an ectomeso, if you,
Oh, that's
if you're
great.
into, yeah.
That's
So
great for bikini and
kind
bodybuilding
of
in
long and
general.
lean, but my upper body, which most women can develop upper bodies faster than lower,
Mhm.
because we have twice the androgen receptors in our upper body. But my upper body is very responsive, but I'm so narrow hipped. Like truly, Celeste,
Mhm.
probably if you looked at my structure head on, you'd go figure, right?
Wow.
Because I'm narrow hipped. I don't have that. I have to pose, which a lot of bikini girls do have to do to be bikini, right?
Mhm.
Um, so what was the question again?
How
Here's
did
where I come really human.
Well, I also went on like a complete tangent of bodybuilding history, and I don't know why I did that, and I apologize for doing
Oh no,
that.
no, no, no. So you're
Oh,
asking me how have I
how
been
did you
able
how did you
to
grow? Yeah, year after year.
progress? So
Yeah.
I've always been into progressive overload and trying to train more intelligently versus training like overtraining, if you will. And as the years have passed, I've learned in I guess you can call it wisdom to cut back on volume. Um, I've learned to um, push my weights because I need progressive overload. You know, you don't just sit and go, oh, okay, my shoulder presses are at 25. That's great. That's what I was aiming for. I'm just going to stop now.
Right.
No, if you need more growth, you've got to press on, right? So
Literally.
you're hitting for the 30s and it may take you a year, but you just keep pressing. So that's been kind of how I've coached myself over the years and pushed myself. It's just been, you can't just rest here, because if you're resting, you're actually falling back. You have to press on.
For sure.
So it's a no parking zone, Celeste.
I love it. It's true. I'm like at almost, what am I at? Like a year and a half away from the stage, and it's been amazing. Like
Ah,
the
when are you going back?
I don't know. I'm hoping at the end of the year, but I'll also like I'm not so committed to it. Like if I get to compete at the end of the year, awesome. If I don't, awesome. We're just gonna keep
Right.
evaluating the physique and life things, you know, like I'm going to Austria in the middle of the summer. So it's
Oh,
like,
fun.
yeah, I'd either have to start prep right before that or right after. Either is fine. Like we're in a good spot, but I want to make sure like I'm like where I need to be, I guess you could say.
Yeah,
Kind of,
definitely.
yeah, improved. Like you've improved year after year, so that feels really good. And
There have been years I think I haven't, if I'm
really, are
honest.
there years that you look back and you're like, okay, that's not what I wanted to bring?
Yeah. And I couldn't tell you which ones, honestly, but there have been years when I've been like, could have been better, but you did the best you
Mm.
could, right?
And
Um,
that's all you can do is the best you can.
that's, yeah, at that time. So I don't, again, I try not to look back and go, oh, that's terrible. I just go, oh, well, you learned. Yeah, that's
Exactly.
why I say I always feel like a winner, because
Mm.
as long as I've learned some valuable lesson and then I can apply that knowledge moving forward, that's a gift.
Yes.
So, yeah, I haven't always felt like um, I've grown physically, but lately, like these last 2 years, it's not that I've grown, it's that I've hit levels of conditioning that I
Hmm.
hadn't prior. I've dug a little bit deeper, if you will.
Yes.
So anyway, and
It's
that pays off.
like how they say, like with bodybuilding, like you could be like too big and too small on the same day. Like
Yes.
you're like, I feel big, but I'm actually incredibly small. Or I feel small, but it's funny because you'll be in your improvement season, you're like, I need to grow. So I feel
Right.
small. But then you could look in the mirror and be like, I feel big because I'm in my improvement season. It's just so funny how the
It's
bodybuilder,
crazy.
yeah.
The whole mindset. Yes. One day you wake up and you're like, I'm trapped. The next day, oh my gosh, what happened to me? Do I need to eat rice? What's the matter? I don't know what's going on.
People
But
at the
yeah,
gym will come up to you. They're like, wow, you look so shredded and like you look so muscular. And you're like, I'm hungry, first of all.
I
And
know.
I just finished an hour of cardio. But it's funny how bodybuilding, I tell people if you're thinking about competing because you want the physique, don't compete until
Right.
you want to do it for other things because that physique until you actually get to the level where a judge is telling you you're perfect, which they don't even tell the Bikini Olympia winner that,
Right.
just know your body is going to change and evolve and ebb and flow every season, every day. And as women in general, like competing aside, as women in general, our bodies change and fluctuate and, yeah, shape shift often.
Oh, on the daily, girl. I
Mhm.
mean, I'm like, one day I'm going, yes, girl, yes, queen. And then the next day I'm
Mhm.
like, what? You have to take the stage in 2 weeks. Get it together. So
And then
no, I
there's like the
totally feel
positive of that too, where like your booty comes back or like
right.
it's like you look voluptuous or whatever in your improvement
Oh, and your
season.
face.
Yeah, your face. Oh, yes, your face definitely start to look
Mm,
like more full and healthy.
right. You definitely look more youthful with a little bit of fat on your face.
Yeah, my dad always says like when I'm lean, he's like, "You're looking older." And I'm like, "This is not a good look." I'm like,
That's
"I know."
hilarious.
Well, because it's like
Oh,
you lose all that like fat in your cheeks and your face, and I have a very round face
right.
as it is, so it's just like it goes away.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely. And the boobs.
I was gonna say
Ladies,
that.
Prepare yourselves unless they're fake.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. That's hilarious. Someone thought I got implants when I got like really big in my improvement season. Like I gained a lot more weight than I think was probably necessary. And I guess someone messaged my old coach. They were like, "Did she get implants?" It's like,
Oh
no.
gosh.
Yeah, I was like, that's actually funny. Like that's how much my boobs shrink in prep. Like that's or even if I get my period, my boobs like swell, I'm like, oh,
Right?
cool, I have boobs now. But I like having small, I like being small on top. It just suits my lifestyle better and my tendency to not want things in my way.
Right. I know what you mean. Yes, girl. I know. I
People
do
listening
have.
right now are like, yeah, yeah, wait, what are we talking about? No,
Now we're talking about boobs.
that's why I love this podcast. When people message me and they're like, I feel like I'm just sitting in on a conversation with friends. It's like, well, that's how I feel right now.
Yes, I know. That's hilarious. And
So let me,
incidentally, I was
oh,
going to
go
say
ahead.
my boobs are fake.
Yeah. So see, and you have that experience where you're like, and I have the other end of it.
Right, right. So,
Did
but
you
you
did you do that
do.
when you were young or did you do that when you were competing?
I did that after the birth of my last daughter, Claire. So right when I was 31, and that was when my thyroid stuff started going crazy. It was right after that surgery.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
And the childbirth probably too.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I imagine there was a lot happening in your body. And to go through those changes all at once would be definitely tough to manage. I can only imagine.
Well, like I said, God is good, girl. So I
Yes.
got the boobs, and now when I prep, I have like this tiny little thin layer of fat over the top. I mean, it's like nothing.
I
I
love
would
it.
be like pancake. I was like a negative A before. That can't
Mhm.
be you.
Yeah, no, that's not. I'm like, well, no, I'm not flat chested completely in
No.
prep, but I get pretty close. It
Yeah,
gets,
I was defective.
yeah, one of my old friends, well, she's still my friend now, but she used to always say that she was concave.
Yes, that was me, definitely, especially after nursing. I'm like, oh, are you kidding me? This is
Yeah,
what's
that's a big change, huh? I know some women like end up having like their boobs stay bigger or like or actually bigger, and some women are like, oh my gosh, they got smaller.
oh gosh, I didn't even know getting bigger could be a thing. Seriously, are you kidding me?
Yeah, I've heard that. Like I've known people who are like, yeah, I was like always a B cup, but now after kids, I've maintained like a C.
Wow. So I did get the short end of the stick there, but that's okay.
You found a way. You found
I,
a hack.
exactly. Where there's a will, there's a way for sure.
Oh, that's so
Oh my
awesome.
God.
So I want to talk to you about your recipe book because
Oh,
we haven't
okay.
even gotten
Yeah.
to scratch the surface. I included it in your intro because I was like, I want to discuss this, but
Oh, thank you.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, what inspired you to write that? And do you incorporate those recipes from your recipe book in your preps and improvement seasons?
yeah. Well, okay. So the book and what inspired me to write it was through all of my interactions with women, I've learned that one of the biggest struggles that it seems that they encounter on down the line is the inability to incorporate an adequate amount of protein into their daily diets.
Mm-hmm.
They want this big, massive change in their bodies, and they think that hour in the gym is going to do it. And so this was sort of a love letter to them or an answer to them. Like, here, here's a way. It is possible. Um, it does require thoughtful planning, but it can be done. So, and yes, I use a lot of those recipes, and not all of them are high protein and prep friendly. Some of them are just family favorites, and then I put some like competitor hacks at the back of the book, like try kernel seasons, popcorn seasonings on your,
Yeah.
meats and veggies, that kind of thing. So I have little hacks at the end.
I love that. Those hacks are so valuable.
Oh my gosh, give me all the hacks, girl.
Right? Although sometimes
Oh,
competitor hacks can get really weird really fast.
that's true.
What's the
Yeah.
weirdest thing you've done?
Okay. You would find this odd, I'm sure. Um, Eggs with peanut butter, crunchy peanut butter, and
Okay.
Colonel Seasonings kettle corn salt, like on top.
See the vision. I
Oh,
do
it's
see
so
the
good.
vision. I
So good.
Are they egg whites or are they like
No,
scrambled eggs?
girl. They scrambled eggs.
Oh my gosh.
And you got to get that peanut butter, that natural peanut butter that doesn't have any sugar, that when you put it on top, it's like a syrup almost, so that when you mix
Uh-huh.
it with your eggs, it's so good.
That's probably the only way I would like the eggs, honestly. I mean, I like with ketchup, but that sounds really good. I love
Oh,
that,
so good.
sweet and salty or sweet
Yes.
savory. That's the jam.
Hmm.
That is
But I
kind of
think, yeah, it is kind of, I mean, I think if anyone ever heard that outside of our world, they might think, what is
weird.
she saying?
Yeah,
That's good.
I'll serve my family food sometimes, and they're like, "Well, I hope you enjoy it because I won't be having any." Like
Oh my gosh.
like that looks disgusting. Usually they walk over like, "What are you eating?" And then they see
Right.
and I'm no longer interested.
So funny. What's the weirdest thing you've eaten?
Gosh, it's been a long time since I even utilized like a real diet hack. I'll be honest, like, it's been a very long time since I've done that.
Right.
So let me think, what's the weirdest thing? Oh, look, I'll share. This maybe isn't super weird, but it's just a good food combo. How about that?
Yeah.
Good food combo, but that's unexpected. Taco seasoned ground turkey with carrots and peanut butter.
What?
I'm serious. Well, you shouldn't be surprised, Miss Peanut Butter
Oh my
on
God.
your eggs.
I'm
Like,
just thinking taco.
well, yeah, no, that's what makes it though. And the
Okay.
but it was canned carrots. Now, I grew
Yeah.
up in a family where everything was canned, so
So
canned
they're
carrots.
softer,
Yes,
right?
soft. Yep, they get mushy in there. Mush them with well, I leave them whole, but they'll mush obviously as you eat it. But like that with the ground turkey covered in taco seasoning, I used to eat that anytime my carbs were low. This was like
Yeah.
back in like I think it was like my 2017 to 2020 years of prepping. That was like amazing to me.
With peanut butter.
Yeah, because
Okay.
like the fat from the ground turkey, and like
It's
then
almost negligible.
yeah, and then you like if there is any of it and you taste it with like kind of the moistness of the carrots and then the like dripping of the peanut butter on it, it's just like
Oh,
and
I
I
may have
melt it
to.
too.
Wow.
Yeah, it's super good.
Anything with peanut butter, though, really,
I know.
right?
That's probably what it really is. We're just like, yeah, both
Yeah.
of our hacks have peanut butter. And I think that's good though, because I discourage competitors from cutting foods out like peanut butter or nut butters just because they're fearful of them or like they
Yeah.
won't because I think it's important to incorporate it in unique ways to kind of overcome those things. But it sounds like your recipe book is awesome and sounds like it's not just fitness protein recipes, it's also decadent recipes and it's the hacks.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what it is.
That's cool. So how
I
do
need
you
to put
get
your
that?
recipe in there, though.
Oh, well, try it for yeah, stamp of approval first, because this, yeah, you may not.
Right?
People be calling
Um,
you like, yeah, I liked all of them except this one.
oh, stop. I'm sure it would be the favored one. Um, so you were gonna ask how to get
Yeah, how
it.
do you get it?
They can go to my Instagram page and click on my link tree, or they can go to my website and get it there, PamelaJohnFitness.com.
Awesome. And we'll put that in the show notes page, of course, you guys. So I'll mention that at the very end. But I want to ask now for your best advice. So, what is your best advice for somebody who has never competed before but is thinking about it? And then, what is your best advice for somebody on their road to pro?
First question, never competed. Um, know your why and keep it there. I mean, your why is what's going to drive you. The how will figure itself out if you know your why. It will drive you, it will get you there. Road to pro, I would honestly give the same advice and control your mind, your mindset. Harness your strengths. Uh, I don't know if that's specific enough. I hope it is.
That's great. That's wonderful. Harness your strengths. I love that. And I think that's very indicative of everything we just talked about too. So we just mentioned your website, but how can people work with you or follow your journey?
Probably Instagram's the best way. I mean, I what used to be better about posting. I'll be honest, I post maybe once or twice a week, but you can get me there for sure.
Well,
I
those
check
one or
my,
two posts a week are worth it.
oh, well, thank you. Yeah. And if people are messaging me, I'm very responsive. I watch that on the daily and I do put stories in
Mhm.
with regularity. I try to be more thoughtful about my posts rather than just kind of shotgun them out there. I told you I get paralysis by analysis on
Mhm.
Instagram for sure.
Totally.
Um, but anyway, so Instagram's probably the best way. Pamela Fit for Life.
And we'll put that again in the show notes page, you guys. That's always on celestial.fit/podcast. If you're listening right away, it'll be at the top of the page. If you're listening in the future, you can scroll down or go to the categories section, which is alphabetized. And you won't just see how to connect, but you're also going to see a full summary of the episode. You'll see a bulleted list of the topics we covered, and you'll see episode timestamps so you can go back and listen to your favorite parts, or, of course, share with your friends, teammates, family, letting them know which part you think they would like and encouraging them to listen to the episode. And it always means so much to us when you tag us that you listened or you let us know what you thought about it. Or if you just message, whether you message me or not, obviously I very much appreciate it, but message the athletes because this is their story. This is what they're sharing and they take the time to come on here. And I know it always means so much to them when you do. So please take the time to do that if you feel inspired to or want to. And I promise everybody I speak to is friendly because me and Pamela, we just went on for, gosh, I didn't even realize the time. And we chatted a
Oh,
bit more. So you guys, like, this is just special. And I love this community so much. So I just want to encourage you guys to continue to engage with the community, supporting each other. And Pamela, thank you so much for your time and everything that you shared today.
oh, thank you, Celeste. I told you I can now retire. My life is complete now that I've been on your podcast. My life is complete.
Oh, that's
Literally
awesome.
prayed about this. So
Wow. I
thank
just
you.
think that's beautiful. I'm glad that I could create that for you. And I feel like this was hopefully to your expectation or desire.
Oh, it's been everything. I really appreciate you.
Yeah, me too, you. Well, stay on the line with me. I'm going to
Yeah.
sign off. Hope that y'all have an amazing rest of your day, night, or morning, wherever you are in the world while you're listening to this episode. Just make it awesome.